My name is Rachel Carter, 32 years old, a physical therapist and owner of New Horizons Therapy Clinic in Denver, Colorado. If you saw me today, you might think I'm lucky. I have my own career, a dedicated team of staff, and hundreds of patients who trust me. But the truth is, behind it all are years of exhaustion to the point of falling asleep at my desk, living off instant noodles day after day, and enduring the feeling of being looked down on by my own flesh and blood family. I've pushed through it, thinking all the pain would eventually fade into the background. Until one fateful Sunday evening, when I realized that my family had never stopped wanting to control my life. It was a chilly, early autumn evening with a few scattered raindrops in the Denver sky. I drove to my parents' house as usual, trying to convince myself this was just a normal family dinner. The two-story wooden house glowed with warm lights, the smell of grilled meat and fresh rolls wafting through the air. Mom opened the door, flashing a smile so wide it felt a little forced. "Rachel, you're here. Come on in before you catch a chill." Her voice was overly sweet. I had a nagging feeling something was off, but I stepped inside anyway. The dining room was set more formally than usual. The white porcelain dishware, sparkling crystal glasses reserved only for special occasions. The long table in the center of the room was covered with a crisp tablecloth, a fresh vase of flowers at the middle. I sat down across from my sister Lily. She gave me a mysterious smile, like she was hiding a joke I wasn't in on. We started dinner with small talk. Dad sliced the roast beef with a carving knife, his movements precise, his eyes like he was waiting for the big moment. Mom solicitously served me food, asking, "How's the clinic been lately? You still working so much?" I replied briefly, "It's good. Patient numbers are up, but I can handle it." As I spoke, my eyes landed on a yellow folder next to Dad's plate. It was partially hidden under a napkin, but still clearly visible. A sense of unease rose in me. The meal went on for a few more minutes before Dad set down his knife and fork, the metallic clink against the porcelain ringing out sharply. He cleared his throat. "Rachel, your mom, Lily, and I have talked it over. We've been thinking a lot about your future and the clinic. It's time to turn it into a family business." I froze. "A family business, Dad? The clinic is something I built from the ground up." Mom cut in, her voice soft but clearly rehearsed. "Honey, anything tied to the word family lasts longer. Your dad and I want to make sure your hard work isn't just for you, but for the whole family. Lily will handle management. You can just focus on treating patients." I glanced at my sister. Lily sat up straight, smiling like she'd already won. She jumped in quickly. "I've got a full plan ready. I'll take care of all the paperwork, finances, staffing. You just need to agree to give me 25% of the profits. That's more than fair for what I'm bringing to the table." I bit my lip to stay calm. In that moment, old memories flooded back like a torrent. The days I pulled double shifts in the hospital cafeteria to send money for Lily's college tuition while I survived on canned ramen. The day my parents bought her a new car for getting around while I took the bus to class. The clinic's opening day, when they left early to make it to a friend's birthday party for Lily. For so many years, I'd been labeled the independent child, which they took to mean I didn't need them. And now, when I'd finally succeeded, they wanted to turn my hard work into shared property. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. "I already have a manager. Everything's running smoothly. I don't think this is a good idea." Dad raised an eyebrow, his gaze sharp. "Rachel, without the emotional and financial support from your family, you wouldn't have made it this far. It's time you showed some gratitude." Lily chimed in, full of confidence. "Exactly. Everyone knows I'm great at networking. I can help you double the patient load. I'll redecorate the waiting room, handle marketing, and of course, take a fair cut of the profits." My heart pounded. The dining room suddenly felt suffocating. The delicious food smelled bland. I knew this wasn't a conversation. It was an ambush, carefully planned. That folder on the table wasn't just reference material. It was a pre-drafted contract just waiting for my signature. Two words echoed in my head. Unfair. I'd endured my childhood and young adulthood to get to this point. Late night studying, hospital shifts, paying off loans, building the clinic from nothing. All of it by me. Yet in their eyes, I was just the family's wallet, a tool for them to cash in on. My parents' eyes were full of confidence, Lily beaming in anticipation, and me sitting there with a storm brewing inside, anger, hurt, disappointment. But I knew I couldn't let my emotions explode right then. If I did, they'd twist it to call me selfish, ungrateful. I had to stay sharp. I set my fork down, forcing a faint smile to hide the chaos within. I need time to think about it, but I want to remind you that the clinic is my career, something I built on my own, not anyone else's. The words came out calm, but inside, a fire of defiance was starting to burn. That night, as I drove back to my apartment, the Denver sky didn't feel as gentle as usual. The streetlights reflecting on the windshield were like 1,000 eyes watching me. In my heart, a new resolve took root. This time, I wouldn't let them decide for me anymore. Have you ever felt like the people who love you most turn their backs, treating your hard work like something to divvy up? If so, you'll understand the quiet pain I felt during that dinner. I believe so many of us have had to fight to protect our own worth. Share your thoughts. Maybe my story mirrors part of your journey. Have you ever been in a situation where the whole room feels staged to corner you, but then you unexpectedly seize the upper hand? I still remember that moment vividly, when the folder on the table stopped being a threat and became my chance to flip the script. After that first ambush dinner, I knew my family wouldn't let it go easily. But I wasn't the same girl anymore. The one who silently endured, ate instant noodles to pay debts, and cried in secret when dismissed. I'd grown up, and I had something they didn't expect: preparation. When Dad slid the folder toward me with that confident look, I didn't tremble like I might have before. Instead, I gently set my water glass down and unlocked the leather briefcase beside my chair. The click was soft, but enough to make everyone freeze. I pulled out a thick stack of documents and placed it neatly in front of me. Before I sign anything, I want you all to look at this. My voice was steady, but inside, waves were crashing. Mom frowned slightly. What is it, Rachel? It's the management partnership contract I signed with Colorado Healthcare Partners 3 weeks ago. I slowly flipped to the first page, revealing the logo of Denver's major healthcare group. The room's atmosphere shifted instantly. Dad leaned in, eyes scanning the text. I pointed to the highlighted section. Clause 4.3. No family member of the owner may hold a management position without unanimous approval from the entire board of directors. I looked up, meeting my parents' eyes directly. The board consists of me and 2 reps from CHP. Do you think Lily has a shot at getting approved? Lily paled, jumping in. You're deliberately cutting me out. I just wanted to help. There's no need to block it with legal stuff. I gave a soft laugh, surprising even myself. It wasn't bitter anymore, but confident. Help? Lily, do you remember last summer, when you asked to help at the front desk? Mom blinked, a bit surprised. I opened another folder, patient complaint forms, neatly organized by date. I slid the stack toward them. This is the fallout from your help. 15 scheduling errors, leaving patients waiting hours or with sudden cancellations. 23 unauthorized discounts, 8 of them for your own friends. 31 insurance code mistakes that nearly got the clinic audited. Lily's eyes widened, her lips trembling. It was just mistakes. Everyone messes up when they're new. I looked at her, a flicker of pity in my heart, but resolve holding firm. This wasn't innocent errors. It was carelessness and disregard for rules. And the one who had to apologize to every patient, deal with every insurance company? That was me. The air thickened, the wall clock's tick sounding like a gavel in a courtroom. Dad growled, "You're going too far. After all, your family has supported you for years." I exhaled, pulling out another set of papers, this time a financial summary prepared by my accountant. "You're right, Dad. The family has gotten plenty from this clinic. Here's a 3-year breakdown. Total value of free treatments for you, Mom, and Lily, $42,000. Dad's shoulder rehab, Mom's heel inflammation therapy, Lily's pre-beach vacation massages, all gratis while I scrape by on quick meals to pay rent." I paused, locking eyes with each of them. Dad looked awkward, Mom bowed her head, Lily flushed red. It felt like I was in a courtroom, but I wasn't the defendant anymore. I held the evidence. I continued, my voice calm but edged with steel. While I ate instant noodles to pay off debts, the clinic became the family's free clinic. I never kept score, but don't twist my sacrifices into debts of gratitude. No one spoke. The room, once filled with clinking silverware, now echoed only with my heartbeat. In that moment, I felt something strange. I wasn't afraid of them anymore. Mom spoke up, her voice softer. Rachel, all we wanted was to look out for your future. We didn't realize you'd feel used. I met her gaze, a mix of pain and relief washing over me. Mom, my future started a long time ago. The day I took out loans for tuition alone, the day I opened the clinic doors alone. What I needed from family was recognition, not a hand reaching for a piece. Lily burst into tears, slumping in her chair. I just wanted to be like you. Everyone calls you the successful one, and I'm nothing. I swallowed hard. For a second, sympathy surged, but reason reminded me. Pity can't be an excuse to keep getting used. Dad suddenly slammed his hand on the table, face flushed. Enough, Rachel, you're turning your back on your own family. I stood calmly, gathering my papers back into the briefcase. No, Dad, I'm just standing up for myself. In that instant, I knew the game had turned. I wasn't the always compliant daughter anymore. I was the adult who could set the rules. The room fell silent, save for Dad's heavy breathing and Lily's sobs. I walked out of that dinner carrying a new truth. I was in control. But that was just the beginning, because I had no idea the days ahead would bring my family's counterattack. If you find this story gripping, comment why, so I know you want to follow along. If it's not hooking you yet, don't hesitate to comment N. Your feedback is what motivates me to keep sharing this unfinished tale. Have you ever sat in a brightly lit room but felt like a shadow, so faded that no one bothers to glance your way? That's exactly the haunting feeling that shadowed my childhood. And in the moment that dinner turned into a trial from the last chapter, all those buried memories came rushing back fiercely, like old wounds being ripped open. I remember my 12th birthday. The living room was decked out vibrantly, balloons and a three-tiered cake, but none of it was for me. It was Lily's birthday, my little sister. My parents gave her a pink bike with bells on the wheels and shimmering ribbon streamers. Neighbors poured in with congratulations, cheers echoing down the street. When my turn came for a birthday, I got a store-bought card. Happy birthday, daughter. No gifts, no party. When I asked why, Dad said, "You're independent by nature. You don't need all that frilly stuff." If you want to understand why Lily was always the favorite while I was treated like a shadow, check out my previous video on the channel where I detail how my parents favored her from the start. Trust me, it'll make that injustice crystal clear. Then came high school graduation. I was valedictorian, standing on stage with a speech I'd rewritten all week. When I looked up to spot my family in the audience, I saw empty seats. Later, Mom called, her voice rushed and distracted. "Sorry, Lily had a fever. We had to take her to the doctor. But we're so proud of you, honey." I forced a laugh over the phone, but inside, it felt like someone was squeezing my chest. That night, I sat alone with my gleaming gold medal, dazzling yet utterly lonely. The script repeated at college graduation. I received honors, but my parents arrived nearly half an hour late. The excuse this time was Lily's school talent show. I waved and smiled from afar, but the cut in my heart was deeper than any knife. That feeling is indescribable. Love mixed with despair, silent self-blame. The day I opened New Horizons Therapy should have been the happiest of my life. I dreamed of that moment since my student days, huddled in a cramped dorm, harboring ambitions bigger than my circumstances. The clinic was small, just 3 treatment rooms, but it was the fruit of years of side gigs, loan repayments, and all-nighters perfecting my business plan. I sent family invitations, reserving front-row seats for my parents. They came, stayed exactly 15 minutes, then left early. I still remember Dad's words. "We have to head to Lily's friend's house. They're having a birthday party. Your place looks like any other clinic. No need to linger." I stood frozen as guests clapped in congratulations. I kept the smile on my face, but inside was a cold void. If you want to hear more stories like this, and the knots I'm still untangling, and if you relate, check out my earlier videos on this channel. Those memories bombarded me as I sat across from my family, listening to them casually demand a cut of the profits from my own sweat. My heart clenched, not from surprise, but from familiarity. Turns out, after all these years, I was still that 12-year-old hugging a lifeless birthday card, still the valedictorian alone on stage, still the young doctor abandoned on her big day. That invisible feeling lingered so long that I often wondered, do I even exist in their eyes? Or am I just the backdrop for my sister to shine? That question once drained me. There were times I thought I'd forever be the faded shadow in my own family. But what's different now? I don't cry in the dark anymore. I have evidence, achievements, and faith in my own value. Those old wounds don't knock me down. They fuel me. They remind me I've survived every abandonment, and now I deserve to be seen, to be acknowledged. Mom looked at me with teary eyes, but I couldn't tell if it was regret or just her habitual emotional performance. Dad was silent, hands clenched like he was trying to hold on to slipping power. Lily hid behind her vulnerability, hoping things would snap back to normal. I understood each of their psychologies, but this time, I wouldn't let sympathy drag me backward. Because if I kept yielding, I'd never escape the endless loop of invisibility. I share this with you not to complain, but to show sometimes old wounds don't vanish. They just lie dormant, waiting for a trigger to awaken. And when they do, they force you to face them, to choose. Keep fading into the shadows or step into the light. I chose the light. But the cost was a new confrontation, not just with my family, but with the community around us, who were witnessing it all. And right there in public, an unexpected twist made everything explode beyond my wildest imagination. Have you ever thought a single social media post could ignite a full-blown storm? I never did. Until my mom posted an old photo from the New Horizons therapy opening day captioned, "Proud of the family business we built together." Family business. Just a few dozen words, but they turned my world upside down. Within 24 hours, the post was shared by hundreds of acquaintances. Patients I'd treated messaged, "Rachel, is the clinic really a family startup?" Colleagues were surprised. "We thought you built it all solo." And those who'd seen me struggle in the early days started getting upset. I'd grown used to my family's silence or dismissals, but I never imagined they'd publicly claim my work in front of the whole community. My heart felt like lead. I wanted to clap back, post a correction, but I stopped myself. I knew a hasty reaction would turn it into a public online war, and I didn't want to stoop to their level. But life never gives you time to overthink. Rumors spread fast, and I got an invite to the Outstanding Community Business Awards, an annual Denver event. New Horizons Therapy was nominated for Health Services Positively Impacting the Community. It sounded like good news, but a bad feeling stirred in my gut. The ceremony was in a grand hall, warm golden lights, lively chatter and laughter. I wore a simple navy blue dress, standing with my staff, while my parents and Lily sat in the audience seats. I caught Mom holding her phone, like she was prepping another update photo. Everything went smoothly until the Q&A. The host announced my clinic's name, praising our efforts in funding aid for low-income patients. The room applauded. I was about to smile and respond when a hand shot up from the middle rows. A middle-aged woman, our old neighbor, stood and spoke clearly. "Sorry, I have a question. Who actually founded this clinic? We saw Mrs. Carter online calling it a family business, but everyone knows Rachel built it herself. Why claim credit that isn't yours?" The hall erupted. Whispers spread everywhere. My heart skipped a beat. The lights seemed to spotlight my parents' row. Mom's face drained of color, her mouth opening silently. Dad frowned, sweat beading on his forehead. Lily, beside them, stared at the floor, clutching her purse tightly. I stood stunned for a few seconds. This was exactly the moment I'd imagined for years. Justice on my side, the community seeing the truth, my parents flustered under questioning stares. Part of me wanted to stay silent, let them face the consequences. But another part, the little girl still in the Carter family, wouldn't let me. I stepped to the podium, took the mic. My voice rang out calm but firm. "First, thank you for that question. I know there's a lot of confusion out there. Yes, New Horizons Therapy was built from the ground up by me, with my personal effort and the amazing team here. My family wasn't directly involved. But I want to say this: the misstatement online is a private family matter. Please don't judge too harshly. Keep supporting the clinic for the quality care for the patients, not for credit disputes. The hall went dead silent for a beat, then exploded into applause. The claps built, strong and sweeping away the murmurs. I saw Mom's eyes well up, Dad slump in his seat looking lost. In that moment, I realized I'd done something no one expected: defended the honor of the very people who'd hurt me. Not because they deserved it, but because I didn't want the stain of pettiness. I wanted to be different, strong, yet humane. After the event, as I walked the hallway, people shook my hand, praising my poise. An older doctor whispered, "You did the right thing. Mercy isn't weakness, it's power." I smiled, but conflicts churned inside. Mom approached, eyes redrimmed. "Rachel, thank you." Her voice trembled, unlike her usual confidence. Dad just nodded, quieter than I'd ever seen. Lily avoided my gaze, but her lips moved like she wanted to say something and stopped. That night, alone in my apartment, I gazed at Denver's twinkling skyline. A strange relief settled in. I'd crossed the line between revenge and forgiveness, but I knew this didn't erase old scars. It just opened a door for change, if my family truly wanted it. And then, another thought crept in. I'd protected them from the community, but would they ever learn to protect me, the daughter they'd overlooked so many times? Do you know the hardest feeling isn't the direct confrontation, but the moment after you've been silent too long and finally decide to lay it all out? That's exactly where I landed. After the community event, I went home feeling relieved yet uneasy. I'd shielded my parents publicly, but that didn't mean I'd let them keep meddling in my life. I sat in my small apartment, opened my laptop, and typed word by word. It wasn't a sentimental letter or an accusation. It was a formal email simply titled, "Essential Principles for Our Relationship." In it, I outlined 3 points. No management interference. All decisions for New Horizons Therapy are mine and the board's. Family has no right to participate or direct. Standard billing for services. Anyone, including parents and Lily, pays full price for therapy. Charity programs are only for truly needy patients. No claiming co-founding. From now on, no one claims credit or uses family business to describe the clinic. I read it over multiple times, my hands trembling slightly. I knew this email was like a declaration of independence. Once sent, there was no turning back, but I also knew that without boundaries, I'd forever be pulled back into the invisible shadow role. I took a deep breath and hit send. The response came faster than expected. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed nonstop. Dad called. I didn't answer. Then Mom, then even Lily. My inbox flooded with messages. Anger, blame, pleas. "You're being unreasonable. We just want what's best for you. Lily just wants to help." I sat staring at the flashing screen, feeling an odd calm. Maybe because I knew I wasn't alone this time. I had my team, my trusting patients, and most importantly, myself. 3 days passed in tense silence. I kept going to the clinic, seeing patients as usual, but always waiting for something. And then it came, in a way I didn't expect. On Thursday afternoon, returning to my office after a session, I found a small envelope on my desk. The handwriting on the outside was familiar, Mom's. My heart raced. I opened it to find a handwritten letter. "Rachel, I know you're angry, and I know you have every reason. For years, your dad and I didn't see your sacrifices. We got caught up in the illusion that Lily needed more while you just endured. At that event, when you stood up for us, I was so ashamed I couldn't look anyone in the eye. You didn't humiliate us, even though you could have. You chose grace. I don't expect forgiveness right away, but I want you to know I was wrong. I hope one day you'll give us a chance to be real parents. Love, Mom." I sat motionless, tears blurring my vision. This was the first time in my life Mom had admitted fault so sincerely. The shaky handwriting, smudged with what looked like tear stains, touched something deep inside me. But I didn't melt immediately, because I knew forgiveness isn't just a soft moment. It has to come with real change. Otherwise, we'd loop back to the same cycle. I folded the letter and tucked it in a drawer. Tears still rolled down my cheeks, but my heart was clearer than ever. I had the right to hurt, to grieve, but also the right to choose how to move forward. The next day, I saw Mom again at the clinic. She showed up unannounced, sitting in the waiting room like any patient. When she saw me, she stood, gripping my hand. "Did you read the letter?" I nodded. Her eyes were red. "I'm sorry." I looked deep into her eyes, feeling a mix of tenderness and caution. I replied softly, "Mom, I believe your apology, but I need time to see the change. Forgiveness doesn't mean letting things go back to how they were." She nodded, tears streaming. "I understand." In that moment, I felt a small spark of light. Maybe, just maybe, change was starting. That evening, I wrote in my journal, "Grace isn't forgetting. It's knowing how to set boundaries so no one can hurt you again." I realized true strength isn't in retaliation or victory, but in daring to protect your worth while holding on to compassion. Dad remained silent. No contact. Lily still dodged my eyes, unspeaking. But at least, I'd seen the first sign from Mom. And that gave me hope. Do you believe a single year can turn seemingly unhealable wounds into gentle scars? Reminders that no longer ache? I didn't used to. But now, looking back, I know I've walked a path not just to heal patients, but to heal my own family. A year after that tearful night, New Horizons Therapy had transformed. We'd expanded from 3 small rooms to 15 modern treatment spaces, with a devoted specialist team. The walls held more community awards, but what I was proudest of was the small plaque. New Horizons Scholarship Fund, supporting underprivileged medical students. I'd earmarked part of the profits to help young people like my past self, hungry for education but strapped for resources. That day, I was invited to speak at the Denver Successful Women Network meeting. I stepped onto the stage, golden lights beaming down, hundreds of eyes on me. I shared my story, the night shifts, the feelings of neglect, the confrontations, the belated apology letters, and I ended with words that hushed the room before applause erupted. Grace doesn't mean erasing boundaries. Grace is setting limits while keeping your humanity. As I stepped down, an older businesswoman took my hand. "Your words took me back to my younger self. Thank you for the reminder." I smiled, a swell of pride and unprecedented peace filling me. And my family? Mom and Dad no longer call the clinic a family business. Instead, they volunteer in the community. Dad with the local veterans group, Mom tending the neighborhood community garden. When we meet now, they talk more about what they're doing for others, not my accomplishments. There's still distance, but I've seen real change in them. Lily, the center of so many fights, found her own path. She started working for an event planning company, not as glamorous as her old dreams, but she's committed, patient, and growing. Once she told me, "Sis, I think I've finally gotten what it means to stand on my own 2 feet. It's not easy, but it feels freeing." I looked at her, a mix of affection and hope. One afternoon, after closing the last treatment room of the day, I stood gazing through the wide windows as Denver sank into sunset. The rush of traffic outside suddenly reminded me of it all. Nights sleeping at patient bedsides, choking back sobs from abandonment, fiery showdowns. And the moment I chose to defend my parents' honor before the community, instead of tearing them down, tears welled up, but they weren't from pain anymore. They were tears of release. I realized I'd done what once seemed impossible, protected my self-worth while opening a door to family healing. A week later, we had a small gathering at my parents' house. No formal dinner, no fresh flowers or crystal glasses, just hot soup, toasted bread, and talk about the garden, Lily's new job, and the scholarship fund I ran. No one brought up who deserves more. No fighting, just simple sharing. Mom looked at me and said softly, "Rachel, I know we can't reclaim the past, but I want to make the rest of my life kinder, for you and for me." I went quiet, then nodded. I didn't say I forgive you, but somehow I knew we'd started a new chapter. I share all this not to say my family is perfect now, far from it. We still have silences, scars that don't fade easily, but we've found a different way, respecting each other's boundaries, and from that, holding on to our bond. Today, standing in the bustling clinic, I see it clearly. I'm not just healing joints and muscles, I'm gradually mending a once fractured family tie. And maybe that's the greatest win. Emotional climax. End. I stood in the clinic's small conference room, facing the plaque listing this year's scholarship recipients. Their faces beamed, eyes sparkling with hope. I wondered, if my parents ever see this list, will they get it? That this is what I really want to leave behind, not fights over credit, but value for the next generation? I smiled faintly. In the end, I answered myself, maybe they will. And if not, I'm at peace enough to keep walking my path. Looking back on the whole journey, I realized this story isn't just about a clinic or family squabbles. It's about growth, learning to set boundaries to protect yourself while keeping enough compassion not to turn bitter. I've learned that grace isn't endurance, it's daring to say no at the right time, defending your work, and still opening your heart to forgive when others truly change. I believe we all carry our own family or life wounds, and maybe you'll spot yourself somewhere in this tale. If the values I shared resonate, drop a comment below. I want to hear your thoughts so we can chat more. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to catch the next stories. Who knows, my journey might give you the strength for your own big life choices.